Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is the House of Common show coming live from our rooms onto Zoom. How can you find us? You can find us on YouTube by searching the words House of Common Show. Type in the words House of Common Show. The more you do that, the more we will edge our way above the House of Common, UK, Parliament, all that sort of stuff. When you find us, make sure to like, subscribe, and share every single video you've ever seen. You can go back and watch videos from season 1, and you can watch our current season 2 right now as well. You don't like videos, you rather listen to stuff while you're driving to work or while you're sitting around your house because you have nowhere to go because of COVID lockdowns, do me a favor, search for us on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. When you find us, leave a 5-star review. Today is the 18th of February, 2021, and it was 3 years ago today that one of the greatest films of all time was released to the public. Myself, Andrew, Kareem, Bart, Tim, and a number of other people, friends of ours, including Reem's wife, Nessa. We went to go see Black Panther together, which came out tonight, 3 years ago. And many of us were dressed up, and it was a party at Scarborough Town Center. I recommend to you who are watching, who are listening, if you've never seen a movie at Scarborough Town Center or Morningside and 401 in Scarborough, Ontario, you've never seen a movie.
100.
You've never seen a movie.
Truth.
You need to, the moment the movie theaters are open, the moment it's safe, the moment it is safe, you need to go see a movie, any movie, but especially a quasi-hood movie at Scarborough Town Center, or a horror movie at Scarborough Town Center or 401 in Morningside. It is a jam. And we were there, and it was a great time. And I just wanted to put up a couple of stats about this film. This is one of the greatest films of all time. This movie was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, winning 3: Best Costume Design, Best Original Score, Best Production Design, and it was nominated for Best Picture. It lost to Green Book. So
that ain't it, cuz.
That don't make it. As they already
make it.
That make it. Green Book. It was nominated for 2 SAG Awards, including Best Ensemble Cast. It is the highest grossing film by a Black director. It is the 9th highest grossing film of all time, the 3rd highest grossing film in the United States or Canada, and the 2nd highest film of 2018, only beat by Avengers Infinity War. And here's my thought on that. It took all of the MCU to beat one Black man by the name of King T'Challa. Holla at your boy. It featured 2 Academy Award winners, Lupita Nyong'o and Forrest Whitaker, 2 Academy Award nominees, Angela Bassett, and then Daniel Kaluuya, who was nominated the same year for a fantastic film by the name of Get Out, and one soon-to-be Academy Award nominee in Chadwick Boseman, who could be nominated for 2 different roles for 2 different films. Gentlemen, I don't want to take too long on it because we have a lot of stuff to cover, but what are your thoughts on Black Panther then, and how does that relate to our world now in 2021? And also, I just got to add this too, like, shout out to MCU for making like a major run. They had Thor Ragnarok in November, which is the funniest of all the MCU movies.
That's debatable. That's debatable.
Listen.
I'll say this. That movie saved Thor. That movie legitimately saved Thor. Like, that redeemed Thor.
But Guardians, I think Guardians.
Okay, anyway. I'll give you that. Guardians 1, I'll give you that. It's a toss-up. I'll give you that. Then they came out with Black Panther. They didn't think Black Panther was going to make a lot of money, so they released it in February because that's where movies are kind of just like put there to kind of like just kind of hold court. They thought it would be more like Ant-Man. They didn't realize that the Mandem and the Umandem would show up en masse. They don't know how we do, and they don't know that we turn movie theaters into cookouts easy. In fact, there was one movie theater, if you saw clips, where people actually brought cook-up food. Cook up food to the movie them. Cook up
the
food.
Nigerians don't play.
Yo, that Nigerians.
About the jollof.
Shout out the Congolese.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
The Ghanaians.
Ethiopians. Yo, listen, they don't play at all. Listen.
About the kinky and the fufu.
Listen. I'm telling you.
The shite and the cocoa.
And so this movie, the only movie that beat that one in that year was Infinity War, which I mean, we can argue about which one's better, Infinity War, Endgame. That's not the point of the conversation. Gentlemen, really, really, really quickly, your thoughts on Black Panther then, your thoughts on Black Panther now, 3 years later, in fact, added to the passing of the great Chadwick Boseman, knowing that Disney Plus is working on a Women of Wakanda series to add into the MCU, recognizing that there is still going to be a Black Panther 2 that comes out in 2022, and all that stuff that's surrounding there. What are your thoughts on one of the greatest films in the history of our culture? Gentlemen, I pass it to you. Anyone go on in.
Yeah, you know what? The movie back then, Chase, I was there with you, you know, and a bunch of other people were there too. The movie was a moment in time, and I think we took the box office by storm. Like you said, people didn't really understand the phenomenon that would ensue by having this film come out, and how much people wanted this film to be a hit. You know, we dressed up, all of us that were there, or most of us that were there. I made a whole YouTube video about it. You can check it out on my YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. People were like dressed up. Like, it was unreal. I've never to this date ever been to a movie like that, where it was like Comic-Con or something like that, where like a big moment, everybody's dressed up because they understand the significance or the importance of all that kind of stuff. So then it was unbelievable. Now, with the passing of Chadwick, I think it makes it even more special. You know, the more rare something is, the more special it is. And I believe we saw a young star showing us so much range, and you're like, wow, how is he going to top this? And we knew that he had so much more in the bag, and his life was ended short. But at the same time, it's like, man, I feel so much more privileged to say, like, hey, I was able to see that while he was still around, while he was still doing the press tours. He got to get some of those roses in his real life in this moment, you know, while he was still here on Earth. And I think looking back on it, I think this is going to be one of those movies that people own the box and the Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff, because it's a special moment where Black people feel proud, and you can see that in the way that it was received, and the reception of it, and how people were dressed up like it for Halloween and for other stuff like that. Like, it was a really big moment, and I think it's the legacy will go much further than just a few years. It's going to be remembered for a long time.
Yeah. And I think I like the way that you describe that, Bart. Like, I like the way that you say that it was a moment, because as you know, the running joke on this, you know, on this show is that I always make movie references and that I love movies. And I would say that, like, as a movie lover, the movie was okay. It was okay. But as a Black person, there was an immense sense of pride in this, and that, and when I say that is the thing is this, is that, like, in some ways, like, if we're critiquing it as a movie, right, like, there's some things about it that kind of handcuff, like the MCU in some ways handcuffs certain films because it has to fit certain parameters. It has to fit into the certain world that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is building. There are certain things about the movie that have to actually flow between the cinematic universe. And so in some ways I felt like as a movie it was a little bit handcuffed, but I felt like it gave like for once as a Black person, I felt like, wow, like this is a phenomenal representation of our color. And when I say that, I mean, like, it wasn't that, you know, like the lead characters and everything like that are all, you know, they're all well-spoken, they're sophisticated, they're wealthy, all these kinds of things that are fighting stereotypes of Black people. That when I look at that, I'm like, wow, like, this is incredible. They're leading the world in technology and they have no idea. You know, there's so many things about it that I felt like, wow, like this really fights the stereotype. And for this young generation, seeing Black people just as gangsters, just as rappers, just as these things, but that, like, oh, like there's other world and culture to this. Then how true it was to actual African culture, I think there's you know, that they had to tread a line of, like, we have to really balance this as like a gross African culture and not just, you know, there's specific things. that they really missed out on. But I think that like, yeah, as a black person, I really liked that movie, you know, and I think that again, like what Bart was saying, that it was a moment that we could all rally around. But as a movie lover, I felt like it was a little bit handcuffed. It was just world building. There were certain things about it that I was like, yeah, I get why you had to do that, and I get the jokes and all that kind of stuff, but I felt like it was a little bit handcuffed.
Yeah, I'd echo those sentiments. For me, believing in that I belonged in what I was watching was really cool. I think when he gets coronated and you see all the different representations that Marvel used as to what multiple African nations could look like coming together in a unity, I've got chills. Like every time I watch that scene, I'm just like, yo, that's crazy. What I loved was looking at how they wove history into it. I found it super interesting that people who, if they ever looked at the Black Panther Party, they would despise it. And they have despised it, and they've spoken against it. They've even spoken against some of the movements that echo the sentiments of the Black Panther Party. What I thought was really interesting is we were cheering for the Black Panther while he was fighting the Black Panther. Like Killmonger was a great representation of the Malcolm X archetype of what that party represented, and how just really Black America feels in the world that they live in. And I remember seeing the movie and just kind of seeing the nuances as you begin to, I don't know how to say it like in this moment, but you could feel the tension in the theater as people were at conflict with, we want to cheer for this guy, but we also understand and empathize with this one. I think Marvel's done a great job at creating their villains and allowing us to be like, I see myself in them. I really do. Yeah. And I think that that's what was transcendent about the film, where it wasn't just about Black pride. There was an element of all people can really fit into this scenario, and they can see the injustice, and they can see what motivates those that we label as villains, and actually be like, whoa, that's really real. So I thought that was really cool. I thought that it really opened a lot of doors. You think of what Ryan Coogler has been able to do. Was it Judas and the Black Messiah just came out not too long ago? Yo. And does he get to make that movie if he doesn't knock it out of the park with the Black Panther? It's not to say that that was what it was, but a lot of these guys and a lot of these girls, and shout out to Angela Bassett, is, you know, she's already been referenced. She's a queen, and there were a lot of people who went Facts. Before the actors that are of this day that really killed it. Who's the guy with the weird eye?
Whitaker.
Yeah, Whitaker, right? So you have the OGs in the film. You have historical narratives in the film. You have this redeeming quality that the film offers Black cultures abroad. And then you have these young writers and these young actors that have been able to spiral that success into even greater success to generate greater consciousness for us and those that look like us, and for those who want to be informed about what that looks like. So that's my take.
Yeah, I thought Black Panther, when it came out, was iconic. You know, as guys have already said, the cast was well casted. Michael B. Jordan, you know, he grew up from being Wallace to being he was actually a pretty good villain in that movie. And looking back on it today, I think it's still iconic. You know, much has been said about Chadwick Boseman, how awesome he was, and it sucks that we don't get to see him again, but you can look back on this performance and be like, yeah, this was the movie that really made him a superstar. Yeah, he had a couple of movies before, but this was the movie that I think catapulted him to that next level, and so it just sucks he's not here with us. Also, shout out to M'Baku, who Winston Duke, one of the best scenes in the movie is when they roll up on him and he's barking at them and they're asking him if he'll help. Yeah, exactly. I love that part though. So, you know, and we got the
vegetarian.
We get the M'Baku challenge out of it. So, man, that movie is just, it brings back good memories, and I think I saw about 2 or 3 times in theaters, just because just because like you want to take in this moment of, hey, the black guy can't die first in this movie, right? Like it was just amazing to watch. So iconic and iconic are my two words, how I describe it then and now.
Man, it was just history, man. To be a part of it and to be able, like, you talk about, a lot of times we talk about history and we talk about history from like the past, and we're speaking about things that happened way before we were even born. And to be able to be a part of something that was historic was amazing. It legit was historic. And I remember even thinking that, and I went with Chase and I went with Bart, with my wife and some other folks. But I remember as we were leaving,
I don't even remember you being there, fam.
He was there, man. Reem was there.
He was in the picture.
I was
Reem was
there.
there. Reem was there. Reem was there.
There's a lot of
Same
people,
with
Bart.
us.
Maybe you might not remember him.
I beat a lot of people, fam.
Yeah. Bart. But to be
Janine
fair,
was there
Bart.
too. Janine was there too.
Janine was there too.
But
Yes.
Bart, to be fair,
Janine was there.
Bart,
Shout out
be
to
fair,
Janine.
You know a
Yeah,
lot of people.
shout out,
You meet a lot of
shout out.
people. You might not know who he is. You might not know who Reem is. You meet a lot of people.
I didn't know who Bart was at that time.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people.
No,
too.
that's our first time we met, probably.
That was the first time we would have met. But yeah, it was just to be a part of something like that was amazing. I did end up seeing it multiple times, and I think a part of the reason why I saw it multiple times, aside from just wanting to, because it was that good of a movie to me, was because, and this is kind of what I want to speak to, is what I loved about the movie was it was one of those moments in time where the black people came together to support. And it's one of those things, like, it was really cool to see how we came out, like, and really wanted to support something that was for us and was about us and glorified us or put us in a way or shone us in a way that wasn't, the regular stereotypes. And I do think it kind of showcased, and Calvin spoke to it a little bit, some of the undertones that people don't realize about our culture, but did it in a really creative and positive way, to the point where, when they speak to like us being the ones who were the best, or who was in terms of technology, Wakanda being above the rest. Like, if you look at historically speaking, how much things black people have created. So we have been ones that are creating, and to showcase that and to showcase some of the, the positive hero versus the one that maybe is not the hero that we want to, put on a pedestal, but represents a lot about who we are in our culture, was dope. So from that standpoint, I have nothing but, great things to say about that moment.
One of the things that I loved about the movie itself was the communal aspect.
Yeah.
It was something that drew all of us together. And then also when I was at work with people that I hadn't seen it with, it's literally for 3 to 4 months, it's like at random moments, we would just look at each other and we'd be like, yo, Wakanda forever, which is still going on to this day. And it's like this unique unifying element that happens that you would never think would be brought about by a movie, especially with so many other movies that have been put out that are really good movies. But this itself has really done something for us, and it is something that we not only look back upon with pride, but we look forward to what is to come for us and theater, and also my favorite moment of that night was when I think it was two guys thought Chase was Chadwick Boseman.
Oh yeah, that's right. That did happen.
I forgot about that.
That's a true story.
Forgot about that. It's
I
facts.
forgot about that, dude. That's funny.
Did you sign an autograph?
No. I didn't. No, listen. I want to listen. Continue, Tim. Continue, Tim.
No, it's like I'm done. I'm ending on that.
That's fair.
For me, I think it was actually after the fact and watching all the little kids now seeing somebody they could look to and saying, I want to be like that. and having that saying there's somebody that looks like me on the big screen, that's shining, that's starring, that's looking good, that's carrying themselves well, not as a gangster, not as whatever, but as a king, and being able to say, I want to be like that, and watching the just little young black kids, black young men wanting to be like that was something that really stood out to me in that movie, and just being excited about that movie and how it went in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like what Jones was saying. Like, how many of you guys here wanted to be a hero? Like, how many of you, when you were a kid, you say, "I want to be the policeman. I want to be the fireman." You know, where else a kid might say, "Hey, you know what? I actually want to, to grow up and be that superhero. I want to be, Superman or Spider-Man." And then to actually pick up a black action figure and say, "Okay, this is who I want to be." Like, okay. As I'm playing with my son, okay, yeah, you can be Hulk, whatever, but you want to be Black Panther. Here you go. This is a Black Panther doll. This is your image. This is the one that
Put
you
down
look
that
up
green
to.
thing, pick up this black thing. Here you go.
Right, come on. There you go.
I want to be the Black Power Ranger.
Yeah, right.
You saw his lineup though, right? His hair lineup.
It was worse
That's
in the
whack,
history.
fam.
Yeah.
You wanted to be Zach, fam?
Wanted to be Zach fam? Yo, his lineup was stuff.
Yo, listen,
Yeah,
they had a white lady on set.
Stefan, his lineup lets me know he would be at the Capitol building on January 6th, fam.
Early 90s, give the man a break.
Nah,
Never heard
he
Shaba yet. It's okay.
he definitely had that bass side.
I'm
He had that
Googling
bass
where
side.
he's at right now.
Jason, jump back in there. Jason, jump back in there.
Yeah.
He had that bass side fade. But yeah, I mean, like, just really to have that positive role model. I think it was just huge. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing that I got, I mean, we all dropped on different points, but I thought that was something that was pretty cool about Black Panther.
Just something to kind of round up this conversation. I saw the movie like a couple you did. I saw it 3 times. I saw it once in Scarborough, Ontario. And again, for those of you who are listening to this show or who watch the show and you do not live in the greater Toronto area, you live in different parts of Ontario, maybe the United States, or maybe you are overseas and you found our show. There's something special about watching a movie in Scarborough, Ontario with people who are like you, all celebrating the same thing. I then saw it with my son. I thought it was important for my son as a young black man I will call him a man, why not, even though he's 9, to see that movie himself. And so we went to Whitby, Ontario, a little bit more of a mixed bag. And then I saw it with a friend of mine in a town called Belleville, Ontario. And when the line comes out, "What are those?" The line came out flatter than a pancake. There was not a laugh in the room. I was like, "Oh, this is we're not in Kansas no
Gotta
more."
go back to
Ridiculous.
Scarborough.
Did they groan when they called him a colonizer?
No.
They like, oh, come on.
They started leaving the room. I'm not watching this movie. Another thing, just a couple other things that mentioned the texture of hair. I think that's so valuable to recognize, like the hair on the black women, from braids to keeping
Shaven.
it short to shaven
Bald, yeah.
to bald, like and the
No perms.
no, only one perm, but it was a wig and she tucked it off her head, right? But just and I think
Yeah, she dashed it.
it goes like, and it's important to say the power of black women.
Yes,
The power of
sir.
black women in this film was serious. That the women were actually holding up to T'Challa and calling him to be better, as opposed to T'Challa kind of making the rules on them. They're like, no, like, we need you to step up. And so from his sister to his woman, not a side piece, not this.
Show them who you are.
Hey. To his mother,
I never
mother-
freeze.
never please. like it had to look in the headlights. Like it's just such a like, you again, like, I'm just gonna repeat what you guys said. It felt like us. And I think that's a great, like, on this anniversary, 3 years to the day where we get to film. I got my Killmonger look on today. That's one of the, like, got the entire
About to
gamut
rob
on.
a museum.
You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like, everything about it. And then Like, where would you rank Adam as, like, maybe to kind of close off this section here before we move on to something else? Where would you rank Killmonger in the villains of the MCU? I have him in my top 3. I have him in my top 3. I have Thanos. Thanos from Infinity War is my top villain of all the MCU. Not because Thanos in Endgame is different than Thanos in Infinity War.
Facts.
Infinity Wars Thanos is the pinnacle of villainy, because he's the best villain because he thinks that he's in the right, and the best villains are the ones who think that they're actually good,
Justified.
And Killmonger represents that same sort of ilk, right? Of like, we are black people, we should be helping black people by any means necessary. He's the Malcolm to the Martin in the film.
100%.
Right? So Adam, you being the guy who knows cinema better than the rest of us, like, where would you rank him?
I don't know if I know it better than the rest of us.
You shut up.
Stop it, brother.
You're the movie guy out of all of us. Shut up.
Killmonger ranks pretty high because as a villain, like I think when you're building a character, specifically a villain, it's you've built a villain right when the villain dies and there's a piece of you that leaves with that as well. You know what I mean? Like when the Black Panther and the Gold Jaguar are sitting there watching, looking out over the land, and he dies, and the Gold Jaguar dies, there's a piece of you that's like, oh man, like, and the other thing is that like why I would rank Killmonger high in the villain list is because this will really have to do with it's so tough because Chadwick is not with us anymore, but like, it's the growth of the character and how much of the Gold Jaguar does he actually take with him, I think Chase, I'd be with you in terms of he's definitely top 3 in terms of villains. I would be with you on that for sure. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, my list is Thanos, Killmonger, and then they all kind of blend into like all the villains afterwards. They all kind of blend into the same sort of person at the end, outside of Loki.
Don't say Michael Keaton in Spider-Man, fam.
and just for the sake of it, highest grossing film in the United States of America is U.S. and Canada is 3rd. Out of all of the Marvel movies, both on worldwide gross, it is the 4 Avengers films, and then 5th is Black Panther. To kind of let you know in terms of the MCU, in terms of the money that is made worldwide, it is the 5th, and the top 4 are all of the everyone coming together films. So in terms of the singular superhero, Black Panther, T'Challa reigns supreme.
What about Captain Marvel?
Why you got to do that, fam?
Don't even.
Why?
Wow.
Why?
Well, friends, thank you once again for tuning in to the House of Common Show. Remember, you can find us right here on YouTube. Just simply search the words House of Common Show, and then remember to like and share every single video that you watch, and then subscribe to the channel so you can be up to date on whenever we are dropping brand new segments, brand new episodes, and brand new updates for your viewing pleasure. This has been the House of Common Show.